Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of E-Coffee with Experts. I'm your host, Matt Fraser. And on today's show, I have with me Shea Park. Shea is the president and founder of AdSpark, a digital marketing consultancy headquartered in Gresham, Oregon. She is a pioneer in digital marketing space, often taglined as Shea was here before Google, and is a hands-on digital marketing consultant with over 35 years of business and marketing experience. She has worked on over 270 plus client projects, helping them achieve exponential growth in leads, sales, and revenue. When not working on marketing campaigns for clients, she enjoys spending time playing golf, water skiing, mountain skiing, walking her dogs, and spending time with her friends and family. Shea, thank you so much. Welcome to the show. Pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, Matt.
Yeah. So Shea, how would your university professors describe you as a student?
Too many questions.
Oh, yeah? You're always asking questions,
I would have too many questions. Oh. I loved college. I didn't like high school, but I loved college.
That's interesting. What was the difference between high school and college?
I got to take whatever I wanted. I paid for it in cash. I took whatever I wanted to study.
Yeah, you don't get to, exactly, because there's things in high school that just, I didn't care about chemistry.
I was ornery. I think I was a challenging student, but I think they liked it because I went to real small schools, and you had to talk to professors a lot, so.
Oh, that's awesome.
Pretty engaged in college. Yeah.
All right on. What would you say is the biggest difference between who you are now and who you were in college?
Oh, I talk a lot now, and I was super quiet back then. I was shy.
Oh, yeah.
I was shy and insecure. Nobody would guess it now. People are like, you usually can't get her to shut up.
That's the same with me. I was really shy and ended up getting a job in a restaurant. It kind of brought me out of my shell. Or going
Same here. You had to speak to, right.
Yeah.
You had to speak to them.
Oh, I went up to my first table and my hand was shaking on the pen paper. And I was like, what would you like to order? Anyway, but I got really good at it. But anyway, that's not about me. It's about you. So what about, do you think your experience you gained at Edison Learning, I know you worked there, has helped you in your development as an entrepreneur and digital marketer?
Yeah, I've been really fortunate to work with, they were a client of mine early on, and then they were a client of mine again. I've been able to work with them a couple times. I would say that was, I love education, and I loved helping with education companies. I think a lot of agencies I would get projects people didn't want a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
And, they were really, really challenging. So, yeah, Edison Learning, great ed tech company.
Yeah.
Super, super loyal to them, would help them to the end of the days. I loved working with Edison Learning.
Well, what got you started in digital marketing? Like, I don't imagine you woke up when you were 6 and said, I want to be a digital marketer because the technology didn't exist, or a marketer. But what drew you to? Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Sure, absolutely. How long you got? No.
I got time.
So kind of like you, we've shared a little about the restaurant experience there. I had been in a director of catering. I was working in a stint at Intel, actually. We were running the entire catering sales division for their 200 lunches and meetings a day, and setting up all the AV and internet. I'd overhear meetings with the Rolling Stones. I was like, oh, this is fascinating. But we were the catering director, but I was super attracted to the internet. And the exec there said, whatever you do, when I was leaving, get on the internet. Do anything on the internet. I was like, God, that's pretty vague. What are you supposed to do on the internet? Yeah. So, my significant other at the time had wanted to go down to Santa Ynez and apprentice as a horse trainer. Oh, yeah. And, you've seen Yellowstone with the whole horses and all that. That was pretty much what his dream was. And I knew that we needed to have a steady income because I'd grown up a little bit on a ranch. So gotcha. I knew, you better get a real job to go along with that because horses eat a lot. Yeah. So I went and took a job. I applied and took a job for Paul Broomer, who was one of the really first SEO companies and it was 1996, 97. Oh, wow. Paul Broomer was Claudia Broomer's son. and Cloudy Room was one of the editors of ClickZ. So that was a going concern publication back then. So my very first meeting was with Brian Correa, Value Click's founder.
Oh, wow.
My very first internet meeting, and here I come from the restaurant business, and I'm like really nervous, and we're having lunch. And Brian's like, "Oh, I was really interested in you because you work for Cisco." He said, "But I think you got it spelled wrong on your resume." And I was like, "Oh, no, it was Cisco Foods." And he thought it was Cisco Systems.
Oh, yeah. That is hilarious. I know Cisco. I know them both.
So he goes, "Oh, I thought it was a typo on your resume." And I said, "You met with me anyway?" So I thought for sure I wasn't going to get the job. He was an investor in the company. And, I visited his office, and he had this office with boxes in a strip mall, 2 rooms, 1 employee. And you talk about ADD, I'm not saying he has it. I have no idea, but he was just all over. What a brilliant, brilliant guy. And so that was my first meeting in the internet those 2. I didn't think I got the job because I was like, why are they going to hire somebody with a food background?
Yeah.
So they did. And I think because maybe it was, they thought I would be good at sales, and, director of sales and marketing was like, this was unknown, digital marketing, 1997. It was brand new.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
So, yep. So I took the job and worked for Paul, and learned everything. I read everything, 90 hours a month reading.
Oh, wow.
It was really, it was early days SEO, and I would just listen to him on the phone because everything was on the phone. You didn't have shared meetings, and we didn't have things like this.
That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I just soaked it all in, and it was crazy. The money that was flooding on the internet at the time, it felt like really exciting to be part of something so brand new.
So revolutionary, eh? It's literally changed the world.
Yeah, it was banner buys, and it was like clicks, just 50% click-through rates. You wouldn't believe it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even believe it. You'd be like, and then you'd find out, oh yeah, these are incentivized clicks, kind of like bots now,
Yeah. How have you seen it change over it's fascinating to be in the internet, be involved, going back to 1997. That's I don't want to say how many years that is, because I don't. That's a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
25 years. And what changes have you seen?
Oh my gosh. Well, that is a great question, because I think that I really feel humbled that I could suspect some changes coming. And I don't know if it's just because you're connected to this machine all day long and you're looking at it and you're reading and you're paying attention. But I think that I really did sense changes. So changes, you think about it, we were faxing IOs. You were flying to meet clients every month. You weren't having computer meetings. You were the changes, and then Google, of course, they change, 200 things a day. So really the advent, being there before Google and then seeing what Google did, the landscape then was, there were 8 search engines, Lycos, Alta Vista, Overture became Yahoo. It was evenly spread between all of those. The search rankings and on the results were really shared. So search changed, banners, the IAB changed things, made best practices, canned spam, came about.
Oh, yeah.
Regulations, now privacy, I think standardization really wasn't the wild, wild west anymore. So things got standardized. You've kind of mentioned it a little bit when we were early, talking a little bit earlier about, kind of charlatans getting found out. I think that's changed. I think there's less and less of that happening.
Yeah.
People are, clients have gotten smarter.
Yeah, they have. Do you think they've gotten more demanding?
Yes, of course. And as they should.
Yeah.
They really should. I think they've gotten more, clients are getting more knowledgeable, hopefully. You can talk to clients now and they know a bit about data analytics, whereas before it was like you were a rocket scientist if you knew anything about data.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing. data.
So what hasn't changed? I mean, everything's changed in my mind.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, HTML and CS table websites back then, HTML and just Google really did change the whole game coming along. And it's interesting how Microsoft misstepped. And they laughed at the internet. They laughed at the internet at their own peril. And now, look, pretty sure Google stock is worth more than Microsoft. And it's just interesting how I see companies make missteps. Like Microsoft made a misstep twice. Number one with the internet, number two with mobile devices and the mobile phone.
Absolutely.
They used to own 98% of the market share. Now they own less than 2%. We obviously know that Apple came along and Steve Jobs was a genius of geniuses. But to see Google come along and do what they did, it's unbelievable, And even to this day, like their search engine is still the best search engine. I don't even bother. I don't even know when the last time is I searched for something on Bing, and sometimes in deep research I may want to find other stuff, but it's amazing how SEO has evolved as well. When before it was just the title tag and the meta keywords and stuffing and all that stuff, and so SEO has gotten. Would you agree with this statement? SEO has gotten harder.
Yes.
In recent years.
Absolutely, and you think about how many more sites are ranking.
Yeah. Oh goodness.
It did not take very long to get. You could just pepper in a bunch of keywords, and you didn't have to have things really right. But if that was the topic, you didn't have to have the topic. There had to be no substance. Now, it has to not only have substance, people have to engage with it and take action.
Yeah.
I mean, the core metrics is, the updates are insane. I mean, you think about all the updates all along,
Oh, it is fascinating to me and even harder to keep up with in that regard. I would say, would you say that like back in the day, like a lot of listeners know I started doing this in 2006 and over my career, I've dabbled in everything because when I was at the car dealership, I had to, because I was a one-man show. And so I had to know how to do Google Ads. I had to know how to do SEO. I had to know how to do the data side of things to keep my job and so on and so forth. But like now I would sell people to focus on becoming really good at one thing. For instance, I don't know who created it, but a T-shaped marketer. I mean, Ryan Dice talks about it a lot. Like, would you, if someone was wanting to get into digital marketing today, would you give them that advice, like to become really focused at one thing and become more of a T-shaped marketer?
Hyper-focused.
Mm-hmm. So if you learn to do SEO or learn to do Google Ads or a media buyer or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think being truly great and not just mediocre at something and executing really well in a niche is absolutely. And I think there's room for it because it's so complicated. I find there's one agency that I really love right now. It's Rhodes Branding. And they specialized in education, as I did when I first started out.
Oh, okay.
And they do education so well and such beautiful work and partnering with schools and education, but K to 12. Think of this, it's not just higher ed, it's K to 12 space. That space, I mean, they're just a go-to agency for that. And what they're doing is just remarkable. So I think they're a great example, and they've grown so fast within manageability, but they execute well, and education will always have my heart. Yeah. It's just that bleeding heart cause, right? So
absolutely.
I think, I think hyper-focus is great and be excellent at it. And
yeah, you brought up two things. You brought up two things, like be good at one specific area of digital marketing, but also choosing a niche to go after.
Yep.
Obviously that's important because you just talked about how fast they grew, and in order to become an expert. I always wondered though, like I went to the car dealership to become an expert and work my way the inside out. Not everybody can do that, but I wonder how there are other ways. And I'm just shooting the wind here, talking with you off the top of my head. It's like if someone wants to specialize in a niche, but they don't have any experience in that niche, what would you do?
I read everything. I mean, if you get really good at Googling questions, YouTubing questions, that is the greatest thing about Google changes with algorithms is you make a sentence out of a question and you just scour. There's so much generosity online. People share so much knowledge. Yeah. And then books too. I think, how many hours is it? 10,000 hours to become an expert at something?
That's what they say. Yeah.
10,000 hours. Yep. So just read everything and test yourself, test it on, be a great test pilot, find somebody to do it for as a pro bono thing and make sure you can do it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And go to industry specific conferences too. Mm-hmm. Don't even go as a vendor, just go as a attendee.
It's such an exciting industry. It changes every day. I thought about it, with thinking about, the historical questions and some of this nostalgia, memory lane stuff. But I think today I was hit with news that was like, oh, I knew this was coming. And then it's coming and it's like, this is going to change everything. What an industry to be part of, that just one news announcement from Google changes everything.
Yeah, exactly. As someone who was diagnosed with ADD just a few months ago, I find that I think I didn't know that. So 4 months ago, I was diagnosed. And then, this entire industry, I've always been so fascinated. My brain has always been so engaged and stimulated with always learning. It's just like, that's what helps. And so the point I'm trying to make is do you think that's what excites some people about being in the industry is the challenge, but the excitement of always learning something new?
Yes, absolutely. And, I think to share with you, I have it. A lot of people I work for have it. The actual sitting at a desk and digesting so much and having multiple screens and how many platforms are you answering to and you're on your phone. The actual nature of the position almost breeds ADHD, and your brain can become wired and just start to get it. So whereas you may have had tendencies, I'm not going to get on a lecture of, medical here, but most people I work for exhibit signs. So I think that lends it to you constantly being fascinated. Yeah. So long answer of it is yes.
Yeah, sure. Hey, have you always wanted to be an entrepreneur? Were you the typical kind of person who, did you have a paper route as a kid or a lemonade stand or were there key indicators in your life that you were an entrepreneur? Yeah.
I think so. I think so. Now that you mention it, I don't think I thought of myself as that. I always thought, we don't see ourselves how other people see us, but I was always kind of maybe didn't color in the lines. I worked in a concession stand as a very young child, 9 years old, for softball. My dad's softball league. I babysat every kid I could get a hold of. I actually cleaned taverns with my good family friend in the morning. It was like 4 a.m. because we used to be on the ranch. So I used to getting up early. And so, I would say just that kind of, embarking on those things. I had a surf shop deli, in my 20s because I was a surfer. I'm like, gotta find a way to pay for this. So,
you're hustling.
I don't know. So maybe, but I think I always thought of myself, I wanted executive position, I wanted to be, climb the ladders, managers, Mm-hmm. So I think that's my career aspiration because I didn't think I could do it myself until somebody pushed me off the ledge and said, you can do it. Go do it.
Oh, what was that? Well, can you tell me about that a little bit more? What was that key moment?
Sure. I think I'd started mentioning how my, significant other was training horses, and I was working for Paul, and I had this idea because I sensed some things changing, and we were media buying. We had a little bit of ad inventory we would sell, and then those clients would move on. We'd do the SEO. Here's the media buys. And then we'd be done and they'd have, I have $1 million more to spend. So can you spend it? And I kept thinking, let me go spend it. Let me build the media database, essentially like the DSP. And he didn't really want to. So we had a parting of ways, luckily with his blessing. I said, I wanted to get into that media. I wanted my money on that $1 million and I wanted to spend it on what made X number of actions. I knew the formula. Talk about Excel formulas. I knew the formula. So That's how AdSpark was born, was going with one client. Yep.
Wow.
I got one client. They had a credit card that was a rebuild your credit card. That was like a depository account. It was a subdivision of Chase Manhattan Bank. It was like, however that came about. But I had all the inventory avenues to spend $1 million a month and get $15 per application. And so I just started with that one little client and built a huge network. The biggest network I could to get like 100,000 actions, site transactions in a month.
That's unreal. Wow.
That's how we started.
That's amazing. What do you think? There was
no looking back. There was no looking back.
Yeah.
I never had a.
You burned the bridge. You burned the bridge.
Yep.
And what do you think is one of the key aspects of being a successful entrepreneur? You just mentioned one of them, burning the bridge. Like there's no looking back.
I think that one of the biggest things for me was to keep swinging, keep making sure I added value. That I was always adding value, to have buy-in and contacts at the C-level and collaboration with not just the decision makers, but to continually see that your contribution is adding value and growth, and really being part of those data metrics. And just, I always felt that if my clients were happy and they were growing, we were going to be fine. We were going to be fine. Yeah. I never really thought so much about, just the goal and achieving the goal and staying continually on top of the new trends.
Yeah.
Not just trends, but what was changing, and making sure that everything we did added and contributed to growth. And it did. And we kept clients for 5 to 7 years. I mean,
that's not amazing.
Turnover. So
yeah,
I'm really humbled by that.
That's awesome. Because I know the churn rate in the automotive industry for Google Ads is every 6 months.
Oh, well,
every 6 months. Yeah. Because some people don't know what they're doing.
So I don't know the absolute secret formula, but to make sure your clients are happy is a big one.
Yeah. So you mentioned something key a couple times here, adding value and being able to prove that you've added value with data. What are some of the ways you've been able to accomplish that? And if I could be specific, for instance, I had to cover my butt when I was in my position in order to develop the KPIs that I knew were crucial to me doing my job. Like, for instance, I had to separate between the sales and the marketing. Like the web, like I quickly realized that I could do my job to 110%. And that the sales department could totally drop the ball and not do their job and make me look bad if I didn't have that dividing line of how many phone calls were generated, how many web leads were generated, how many chat sessions, how much website traffic, what was the quality of that traffic, and so on and so forth. But what were the ways that you were able to, over your career, maybe there's a couple different ones, or I mean, obviously data analytics, web analytics is one thing, but and when you were at that table in those conversations, what were some of the ways that you were able to provide and prove that value was brought to the table by what the work you were doing?
I think making sure that your roadmap and your plan, your roadmap, your execution tracks all of those goals and KPIs, and setting the baseline. Where are they at the beginning? You have the baseline. Sometimes everyone's so in a hurry to get onboarded, they forget to do that diligence. Is where are you at right now? Where are we going?
For sure.
And where are we going? And then as you get there and climb it up, make sure somebody or yourself, I always like to be the deliverable person because I promised it. So even if we have a team doing it, we're seeing it. But watching those trends and making sure before your deliverable report is due, you're looking at those trends and saying, are we starting to get there? Then you can report this month, week over week, month over month, year over year.
Yeah.
I think one of the first, reports can be so fancy and you can wow them with graphs and charts and all these things. Mm-hmm. And an executive at a pharmaceutical company said to me, Shea, these numbers are great, But it doesn't do me a darn bit of good if you don't tell me the trend of where we were and how this is this much over that.
Oh my gosh, that is a nugget right there. If I had my button, I would like push the applause button. Because you got to have something to compare it to. Because if you don't, and that's how I was able to do it. I was eventually doing month over month and year over year data analysis. And do you think that, like, in my journey, I learned front end marketing. And what I mean by front end marketing, driving all the traffic, like with the Google ads and the SEO and the Facebook ads and so on and so forth. But I didn't understand as much about data until after the fact, until after I learned how to drive traffic and things like that. In hindsight, sometimes I wish that I had gone back and maybe learned a little bit more about data first. I know there's a gentleman who has a website that he blogs about, talking about how you need to know data. Otherwise, how can you know what's happening if you don't understand the data? So, like, if you could go, like, do you think people should start learning how to understand data further ahead in their digital marketing career, or just figure out traffic and that's it and let somebody else handle the data? Like, I don't know.
Well, I think I think it's a great question. I think you're onto something. Understanding data is foreign to some people. It might as well be talking in a foreign language. So sometimes you fall into things naturally, right? You're just made to do it. You just feel it's really comfortable. I fell into it. It turns out, I took a test to find out where my genius level was. Mine was in pattern recognition. Who knew? Okay. I didn't know. If I'd have known that early on, I would have taken those probably would have done stocks or something like that, stock trading.
I hear you.
But I came at it real late. So data comes really natural for me. Sometimes I have to slow down and help my clients and whoever I'm working with understand because it comes so natural. Some people, it doesn't come natural. So I think you have to find what story the data tells.
Okay.
And tell it in a story. So because understanding data, there's piles and piles of data. Yeah. But really, how does the data measure up to what is wanted? What's the goal? What is the absolute? What do we need to do from these dollars spent?
Yeah.
And then find the data that supports that, because you can get drowned in data. And if you could afford to have a data expert on the team, or get a consultation with somebody for 3 to 6 months and learn it. And then, really, everybody's data appetite is different, and what they need for data is very, very different. So understanding the data is really, I wish they taught it. Maybe they are going to start teaching it. I've been approached by some colleges to teach a data analytics course. And
sign me up.
Google has a great analytics course.
Yeah.
If you're not into Google, Udemy has some. There's like 5 or 6 really good data analytics, and you can take some of the videos, the YouTube videos, and really learn a lot. But not drowning anyone in data, but really, how does the data tell the story to the people that it needs to be told to, so that it gets to the board, and we did our job.
Absolutely. How important? You just mentioned courses. How important do you think it is to get certification as a digital marketer?
I like it. I used to just think experience was great. And sure, I could say I walk into a room and I get 25 years experience and 35 years experience in business or whatever, like that should be enough. But I actually got certified. And then, I think, I got educated in everything with analytics. And then I recently, I did other certifications. And I think it's great to have a stamp. Right now, like Google Ads certification is tough because, people say it's a joke. You can go Google the questions and answer
the answers. Yes, you can.
But if you really truly want to do a good job to stay up, they're introducing a new course now because, of course, they're changing everything, right? So I do think certifications are great, and just to be able to say, done it, but then also how much you've executed beyond that certification. That how many success stories do you have? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, indirect mentor of mine, Dan Kennedy, talked about the way to differentiate yourself as a consultant, or whether it's a mortgage professional or digital marketer or whatever case may be, a certification. It's like you can charge more because you have a USP a unique selling proposition advantage of being able to differentiate yourself between other consultants by not only having that experience, obviously, and maybe some credentials behind your name from a college or university, but also certification. For instance, I myself am working towards getting my OMCP, Online Marketing Certified Professionals certification, and you choose one channel, one area of marketing that you get certified in, not 7 or 8. And it's equivalent of a university degree, because you don't just take a test. Like, you can look up the answers on Google. You have to have like 5,000 hours of proven time shown in regards to the area of expertise that you're actually wanting to get certified in. And
That's fantastic.
The test is proctored. You can't cheat. Mm-hmm. You have to take it through a Zoom call like this. And so, yeah, I found out about it from
Are you finding that is, are you finding it's really current? Like, are you finding that it's not dated?
No, it's not dated. No, it's very current. Yeah. It's omcp.org.
That's awesome. Maybe I'll go teach.
Yeah. Oh, you probably should. And you probably could. So switching directions. So you also mentioned another thing, data and analytics and Google Analytics. Now, Google has made a huge change with going from GA3 to GA4, or whatever you want to call it, Universal Analytics to GA4. Yeah. And the amount of, excuse my French, I'll be blunt, the amount of bitching and complaining, myself included, that people are doing on LinkedIn, everybody hates it. Like, nobody likes it. No one, like, now I could be wrong. Like, maybe I haven't read the entire internet, but a lot of people are finding it very challenging. A lot of people think that Google has adopted it too soon, that they're sunsetting Universal Analytics too soon, like July 2023, that they released it in kind of beta. A lot of people feel that. What are your thoughts on it, like on GA4?
Well, I think I love that you shared how everyone's feeling about it and bantering around and talking about it. And to me, it's like a lot of change. It's really uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. And when you became an expert at something, to have that rug ripped out from underneath you, and to say, and to have the new rug look very different. It's different. Like you're blind and you feel like you're doing Braille in there. The first time I logged in, I was like, where is everything? It's hidden. Yeah. So the cookieless shift is something to we are going to have to embrace it. The thing about the lack of change is the tracking issue is that Google Analytics is one of the things I feel for Google itself is that Google Analytics is not telling the whole story now. So GA4 is actually trying to tell more of the story going with the cookieless part. So I think people need to get into
okay.
I think hopefully. Yeah. So I think there's advantages. There's some built-ins. I didn't like it. I was one of those, but I'm also like, well, Google's here to stay. And I have adjusted to Google for 20 years. So what I'd love to break up with Google. I'd love to break up with them, but
but you can't.
Can we really?
Yeah.
So no. I think there's a learning curve. There's a lot of blogs. And you know what? I want to say, I love to give people some shout outs.
Sure.
That if you're going to embrace GA4, to just take this year to learn it like we did and take a little bit at a time, bite-sized meals and chunks. Yeah. And, I think that there's a gentleman that's created, it's called Love It's Data, and it's a YouTube channel.
Oh, I know who he is. Yeah, I know exactly who you're talking about.
He's fantastic. Well, his accent is wonderful because you just want to listen to that British accent all the time. But
I know who you're talking about.
But he really embraced it, and he started putting out some great things of showing the positives, the advantages and disadvantages of it. So I recommend Love It's Data. And, you can go and research some alternatives, or this is making room because people aren't happy. This is making a business opportunity for about 8 different alternative analytic companies. So,
yeah, that's very interesting. Okay. Number one, it's Benjamin Mangold, loves data. He's a great guy. I don't know him personally, but I'm probably going to get him on the show now that you brought it up. And it's very interesting how you brought up how you could become an expert at Universal Analytics, and then all of a sudden Google has like totally changed the game, and it's almost leveled the playing field for everybody, because you got everybody starting at square one again when nobody really thought that would be the case. And we could talk about the cookie world of cookieless marketing. Maybe we'll have you on for a second show about that, but because there's so many things to talk about. It's amazing. And I can't even remember my question because we were talking. I had a train of thought there talking about. Oh yes, thank you very much. The alternatives. Number one, it's leveled the playing field. Now, I personally, and there's another thing you talked about. We can't get away from Google. Like third-party analytics, or I don't know if you want to follow, but alternative analytics platforms such as Matomo. I mean, I love Matomo. I don't know what your thoughts are on it. I love it. It has everything that you need all built into one. Like I love it. Like I love Matomo. Now, but the problem is, like when I was running Google Ads campaigns for the dealership, I had a separate view set up just for Google Ads because I had Google Ads specific goals. I had a target market view that had all my goals. And then I had a Google Ads specific view that was connected to the Google Ads account, so that I only had, there's certain goals that were at the target market view that did not matter in the Google Ads, that I did not want to be counted as a KPI. So I had those set up. But if you're going to try and get away from Google, how the hell are you going to do that? Like, to my knowledge, there's no way to do that. There's no way to run Google Ads with conversion tracking in an analytics platform that works together apart from Google Analytics. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, we're always going to have to use it.
I think Google likes to think that it's going to have the monopoly on it, but some of these companies are urging and pushing to build in KPIs to where you had to do Google Data Studio report. So it'll be one way to do it. And the other thing is, maybe it's not Microsoft Power BI, but there's a way for you to patch some of those things together, and it might be a little bit clunky for a little while. Yeah. But we're doing that same thing and using some other alternatives. Yeah. And we're adapting to what the clients need. Some clients are saying, no, we're not going to learn GA4. We're not going to do it. We're just going to rely on HubSpot. We're just going to rely on this or that. We're going to rely on something else. So I have a lot of customers and the clients that are saying the same thing. So I think getting involved with the surveys, or if you will, the seats they have for some of their, research things that are going on, and voicing. Yeah. We've stayed quiet, but I think it's time to rally and riot against Google a little and Google Ads.
Yeah, absolutely.
The rebel in me is going to speak up to Google, as I'm going head to head, and I don't want to break up with Google, but it may be forced.
Yeah, no, I hear you. It's amazing. There are so many other questions I have, but I would love to have you back on the show to talk about. I think I have about 50 other questions I did not ask.
We can have a part two.
Yeah, we'll have a part two. Absolutely. But how can our audience get in touch with you online if they choose to do so? Like, how can they connect with you?
I think LinkedIn's really, really great.
Fantastic.
Our site is massively outdated. I'm one of those, like a contractor or a builder in my house has ever done. So LinkedIn's great. I'm pretty responsive on there. They can email me at Shea@add-spark. I'm really responsive there. I have some really have the alternatives kind of research. So if people are looking for some things to test, I love to share and nurture and give information. So
right on. So it's Shea Park, just on LinkedIn, everyone. We'll make sure to include that information in the show notes. So hey, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
You too. It was so great. I love your platform, and like I said, I'm a big fan of listening to your podcast. So
thank you very much. Really appreciate it. You have a wonderful day.
You too. Thanks, Matt.